Hey guys, it was good Triple J boxing, and we just had a great night of boxing. And I'll talk mostly about the Canelo versus Berlanga fight, but I'll talk about the other fights as well. So, Canelo versus Berlanga, it was actually a really good fight, but then again, any Canelo fight is going to be good if the uh, fighter on the other side of him is game and is willing to win the fight and not just try to survive. And obviously, it matters on the style that Canelo is fighting as well. If Canelo's fighting a guy that's, say, like an Erislandy Lara, like he just fought Danny Garcia this night, and it turned out to be, it was boring, but it was more like tactical. I thought the commentators are kind of, they weren't really good on that fight. They're kind of harsh. Like, it was a high level tactical boxing match, and they were just, I don't know, they were shitting on Danny and Laura the whole fight. But anyway, when Canelo fought Laura, I mean, stylistically, you're not going to get the same kind of fight as if Canelo fights a Berlanga, when Canelo fights a Triple G, or like when Canelo fights a guy that's willing to come forward. It's usually going to be a firefight. And so this fight was good because not only was Berlanga willing to win the fight, and he was game, determined, and defiant. I would say the one thing that the commentators did say right is that Berlanga was defiant. Now, I think it was Joe Goosen who said that, which was true. Because he was getting beat up some rounds, but he was still landing heavy shots on Canelo. And Berlanga is actually pretty explosive and quick. Like, his punches are very quick and fast. And later in the fight, he was still trying to win, and he was actually talking shit to Canelo during the fight. He was doing some dirty tactics, like the leading in with his head, and it was so he was a game opponent, but stylistically it was good because he was standing in front of Canelo, which I'll get into that more on his game plan, because like I feel like Berlanga was putting himself on the ropes too much and just staying there. And I know he said one of the keys to the victory against Canelo is using the jab, because that's what Bivol did, and others, right? But Bivol most recently, the guys to give Canelo trouble use a good jab. So Bivol, he watched that fight and he says, that's what I got to do. And he was using a good, effective, powerful jab, Berlanga. But the problem was he wasn't using his legs like Bivol. So that was the issue. So he had the jab, but he didn't have the legs. He wasn't utilizing the legs the way he should have been. So he was backing himself up to the ropes and just letting Canelo tee off on him like a heavy bag. And I know he was trying to counter, and he was countering effectively sometimes, but he was taking a lot of shots to get in one counter on Canelo. And Canelo definitely felt his power, but I mean, like, you're losing rounds because you're letting Canelo tee off on you 10 power shots, and then you maybe counter good with one or two shots that land good. But I mean, Canelo just landed 10 on you. And then another thing was he was giving up ground too much at times, so he would back up when he should have been putting Canelo on the ropes. I guess easier said than done. And you got to give credit to Berlanga, because he showed a lot in this fight, to be honest. A lot of people thought he was just going to get knocked out, not even put up a fight. But he showed a lot of heart and determination and a lot of promise going into the future, because the way he conducted himself, he wasn't just trying to survive. He wasn't just trying to get to round 12 and make it out of there. He was legitimately trying to win the fight. And as the fight progressed, after he got dropped pretty hard with that left hook, like, I can't believe some of the shots he was eating was like super clean shots. Like, the best Canelo shots were landing on this guy's chin and body. Like, the left hooks to the body were vicious. The left hook that dropped him was vicious. And the fact that he was still clear-headed, even the knockdown, he wasn't out of it. He got dropped, but he was clear-headed. He got up and he like he began to fight again. So he wasn't really badly hurt from it, even though it was devastating. So he's demonstrated that he belongs at the highest level, in my opinion. He showed good willingness to win, and grit. So I think there's good promise for him. And he showed, not only that, he showed a very good chin. So moving forward in the 168-pound division, I think he has a good chance at beating a lot of guys there and getting a belt. When Canelo, I guess Canelo has all the belts, right? But I mean, like, when Canelo is, I guess, when Canelo doesn't, when Canelo relinquishes the belts, he's definitely, I can see him becoming a belt holder for sure. But yeah, so just, and there's one thing you got to mention, like the way that Berlanga fought, he did some things good, like the jab, his counter shots were good. He was landing good shots. It's just Canelo was landing way more good shots than he was. So that was the problem. Because, like, sure, if in a regular, like, say in a boxing match where someone's not throwing as much shots, like what Berlanga did would maybe be enough to win the rounds. But the problem is Canelo was really active because he was standing right in front of Canelo. So that was a problem. So even though he was landing good shots, Canelo was landing more good shots. But his inexperience showed in the fight. Now, I don't know why he was sitting on the ropes. It's like he was doing it on purpose, too. He was, like, going to the ropes straight away and laying on them for Canelo to just tee off on him. I don't know if that was a strategy and he wanted to land counter shots off the ropes, which he was successful at points. But, I mean, like, he was taking more damage, I would see, doing that. I think he should have been pushing Canelo back more and standing his ground and continuing to use the jab. The jab was good for him, and counter shots were pretty good, but he made mistakes, but he got more comfortable as the fight progressed, and he finished round 12 very good. He just put in an all-around good performance, and he exceeded expectations because everyone thought he was just going to get knocked out easily. And going forward, so we seen the Caleb Plant-McCumbee fight. That fight got stopped, I think, too early. Even though McCumbee was taking a lot of shots, he was still in the fight. And McCumbee definitely got good power because I feel like every time he landed on Caleb, it was definitely shaking him up. But then again, Caleb was landing with a lot more volume. And I guess they wanted to protect McCumbee from, because he's still young. He's still, he can still, they want to preserve him, I guess. I don't know. I guess what do you call it? The corner didn't throw in the towel, though. The ref waved it off, so I don't know. I feel like back in the day, they definitely wouldn't have waved that off because, in my opinion, McCumbee still had a chance to knock out Caleb Plant. That was the one thing about the fight. It was a very good fight, but there was even though when Caleb Plant was starting to take over with a lot of his, like he was kind of beating him down on the ropes, there was a sense that McCumbee could land something big and hurt Caleb. So that's why I thought they shouldn't have stopped it. But I mean, if you take that out of the equation, if McCumbee didn't have the power that he does, and then yeah, I could see why they would stop it. But I mean, like, he never went down. He was never hurt to go down. So, you know. But I feel like Berlanga versus Caleb Plant, that fight would be good. And I would say I'd have to favor Berlanga because even though Caleb will probably, like, he uses his legs well, he's a good boxer, I feel like his power wouldn't be enough to get Berlanga from coming forward and punching in between Caleb with his counter shots. Because if Canelo couldn't fully hurt him, how is Caleb going to do it? And the thing is, Berlanga was still punching in between Canelo and landing counters, so he was still comfortable enough to counter Canelo. So that takes a lot of skill and a lot of willingness to throw with a guy like Canelo, and you're not scared to counter Canelo. So I feel like with Caleb, he's not gonna be intimidated at all, and he's gonna. I think he would knock out Caleb, to be honest. I think he'll hurt Caleb. Caleb's chin has been kind of, I see him being hurt by Berlanga. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. Canelo gets it done. I know I talked a lot about Berlanga first, but I'll get to Canelo. Canelo, he did his thing. It looked like it was going to be an early night. He walked in round 1 throwing bombs. Like, literally, the shots that Canelo were throwing are just out of this world kind of power. Like, the guys throw... That's why I like Canelo's style, because he puts everything into his shots. Like, just seeing it was just like, wow. Like, it's all the shots he's throwing is home run shots. And I don't know how Berlanga took them, because he was eating them clean, some of them. Yeah, so it looked like it was going to be an early night. And then the left hook landed, I think, round 3. And it looked like, okay, is Berlanga done? But then he did that thing where he hits his gloves together. And it looked like, okay, maybe he's got fight in him. Maybe he's not that hurt. And he got up, and sure enough, he was back in the fight. So after that, I'm like, okay, maybe it's going to take a little bit more of Canelo breaking him down to get him out of here. And Canelo could never fully get him out of there. He actually never dropped him after that. And I guess you got to respect Berlanga for that, because Canelo was throwing heavy shots on him. But overall, Canelo's very good performance, top-notch performance. And both guys did well tonight. Mexico versus Puerto Rico, it will go down in history. This is a good fight. And the future's bright for Berlanga, I got to say, as long as he stays focused. And I don't like how Jim Gray was like, when he interviewed Canelo, he's like, so you systematically broke down and destroyed Berlanga. Like, the way he talked, I'm like, come on, you got to give Berlanga some kind of respect. Come on, Jim. And, and it was funny when the ref slipped. That was kind of funny. Yeah, but Berlanga, Canelo, you could sense the animosity. You could sense the what do you call it? The energy in there. It was good. It was intense. And I like that. Two guys that are actually trying to win a fight. That's what makes a good rivalry between Mexico and Puerto Rico. Not just trying to collect a paycheck, you know what I mean? But yeah, like, overall, it was a good fight. And I was happy with the night of boxing. I missed the Rolly fight, but I recorded it, so I got to go back and watch that. But the Macumbi Plant, that was a good fight. Shouldn't have been stopped, but it is what it is. I feel like Plant, if it went to decision, Plant was going to win. The only chance Macumbi had, I think, was to drop Caleb again, at least, and or get a knockout. But that's why I thought it shouldn't have been stopped, because he was still in the fight because of that. And he dropped Caleb early, and he had success early hurting Plant. So I feel like should have kept it in there. But that was a good fight. The Danny versus Laura fight, I mean, it was very tactical. Like a sparring match, I guess you could say. But I but I watched Danny box since I can't even remember. I remember when he came on the scene and knocked out Amir Khan. That was a long time ago. So it's nostalgic for me to see him fight. But stylistically, yeah, not the most exciting fight. It was too much of a step up for him. He even said the jab and the distance control of Laura was a little too much for him to get his rhythm. And it's just too much inactivity for Danny to be sharp anymore. And he never was a high volume puncher. So I mean, like, and neither is Laura in this fight either. But the thing is, Laura was still sticking out the jab a lot more than Danny, and was more active with the jab and controlling the distance more. Even though Danny had good defense, it looked kind of like he wasn't mentally fully there. I don't know, because in the corner, his dad's like, "Are you all right? You don't like," and this was early in the fight, so I don't know what was going on before camp, or if he sensed something in his son, but they waved it off in the corner after he got dropped. It was like a delay reaction, straight left hand, and he got hurt and he took a knee, and that was the first time he's ever been dropped. So maybe it's time to call it quits. I don't know, or maybe drop back down and wait. 160 is definitely way too much for Danny Garcia. He's way too small. Like, imagine Danny going up against Triple G back in the day. Like, that'd be insane. He's too small. And even Laura is not a... Like, I guess he's a decent size for middleweight, but I mean, like, I just feel like, yeah, 160 is too much for Danny, but if he's going to retire, I enjoyed watching him. Highly skilled boxer, in my opinion, defensively sound. Only drawback is, like I said, he's not the most active fighter, but he definitely got that power. The way he knocked out Brandon Rios, I remember that. He just folded him like a chair. That was a good knockout. Obviously, the Mir Khan knockout. That was pretty much the end of Khan's career at the highest level, I would say. He never fully came back from that fight. He was always getting knocked out after that. And I know Prescott knocked out Amir Khan first, but I mean, like, Amir Khan kind of made more of a comeback. He started winning a lot, and then Danny Garcia knocked him out, and that was like, he never fully got back. But I mean, he still got in the big fights, right? And then when he beat Lucas Matisse, that was a huge win. He busted up his face, closed his eye, and won that fight. And Lucas Matisse was like a beast. Like, he was feared at that time. So, yeah, Danny Garcia had a good career. And then he had good fights with Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence. And he did good in all of those fights, to be honest. A lot of them, they were competitive fights. So, I mean, 160 is just too much for him. And maybe he just doesn't have the same... the same determination and ambition to continue fighting like he used to. But, so what I take away from the night of boxing is just a good night of boxing. And who's Canelo going to fight next? I don't know. One thing I wanted to mention is Berlanga really embraced Canelo at the end. Like, round 12 ended like very climactic. Like, they were trading heavy shots, both of them, and both of them were landing. And it looked like maybe the fight was going to continue after the bell rang, but no, Berlanga hugged Canelo, embraced him. And the reason why he did that, and he had a really long conversation with Canelo, and I thought it made perfect sense because during the press conferences, Canelo was very Berlanga was very respectful of Canelo, but then he would trash talk Canelo as well because Canelo would trash talk him. And so they had a little animosity there. But I felt like in interviews, and in one hand, Berlanga was like really respectful, and then on the other hand, he was like trash talking. And I thought it was kind of like he was kind of wish-washy, you know what I mean? Like, he would say one thing and then he'd be really respectful. Like, he wasn't picking one path, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't just being disrespectful all the time, and he wasn't just being respectful all the time. He was like doing both. He was trash talking and he was respecting Canelo at times. So it was like, I was confused by that, but now it makes sense because apparently he grew up watching Canelo in the amateurs and he looked up to him always, and it's one of his idols. And he told Canelo in that conversation at the end of the fight when they embraced, he told him he was his idol. And he said that it was a shame that they had to meet on terms like that because the first time he met Canelo, it was to fight. And he never really got to like full on be like just meet him as a person and be respectful because they had to fight each other. So he had to have that animosity and to build up the fight and to get him, he didn't want to be too friendly because then it'd make him soft. So he had to kind of trash talk and stuff. So it makes sense. He felt like he was fighting the urge, like you're fighting your idol, right? And you kind of, it's your idol. You kind of don't want to do that, but you have to, right? It's your job. And you kind of want to prove that you belong there. So it's like, he had to fight that. But, yeah, it was a good fight. And Berlanga, he did good with the jab. He had his good moments with the counter shots, but the game plan of sitting on the ropes too much was pretty bad. I feel like his inexperience was there, but he'll learn from this. And Canelo's just same Canelo, teeing off on Berlanga at times. Heavy, heavy shots that a lot of people would have just got knocked out from. So, And I didn't like how Brian Custer said, oh, he might not have the power anymore, but he can still put on a good performance. He was talking about Canelo, but I feel like Canelo still got that power. It's just Berlanga was a super game opponent with a good chin. Like, a lot of people would have got knocked out, and we tend to forget, like, a lot of the fighters that Canelo's fighting are a lot heavier than him at this weight class, and stylistically, some of them stay away from the power, like Bivol did, right? He stayed away from the power. So, you know, I feel like Canelo's power is still there, and you can see when he throws the shots. The shots are heavy as fuck. Like, Berlanga just had a good chin, you know. So, yeah, Canelo, impressive performance, looked good, looked solid, good gas tank, didn't really slow down too much. Then again, I feel like Berlanga was standing in front of him a lot, so maybe it didn't show up as much, the gas tank, because when the guy's there in front of you to be hit, you don't have to use your legs as much, right, to find him. So I feel like, yeah, he looked good. I give him a really good grade on this fight, and he wants the Bivol Beterbiev winner, and I say let's get that on. I really like that. Canelo, if he fights the winner of Bivol Beterbiev, like, we can stop complaining about Canelo. Yes, I know it's not Benavidez, but I feel like Benavidez is not as good as Bivol and Beterbiev. Let's be honest here. Now, obviously, Benavidez hasn't fought them either, so we won't know for sure. But if you had to ask a bunch of people, they would say that Bivol and Beterbiev are both better than Benavidez. And he would be the underdog going into the fight versus them. So if Canelo goes and fights the winner of Bivol Beterbiev, I mean, you can't hate on Canelo for that. That's a tougher, bigger fight than the Benavidez fight. Obviously, money wise, Benavidez is going to make him more money. But I mean, like, boxing wise, those guys are better. So, and stylistically, I feel like Bivol is just tough for Canelo. I feel like Beterbiev and Benavidez are a bit better stylistically for Canelo. They'll stand in front of him more. But, yeah, so Canelo still got that power, even though he's not getting the knockouts. The knockdown shows you he has extreme power still, devastating power. Berlanga showed a really good jab, good heart, good chin, and willingness to win. And explosive. He's got explosive counters, I got to say. So, his stock went up. Canelo's stock went up. I want Canelo to fight the winner of Bivol Beterbiev. If not Benavidez. Those are the two fights I would want him to pursue. But, yeah, this is Triple J Boxing, guys. Let me know what you thought about the fight. And thanks for watching. Take care.